It's wonderful to see so many people of you today with Syria in their hearts. And it's wonderful to know that you're asking yourself, what can we do to help? I'm delighted to be here to congratulate the young people who have answered that question by setting up Jusoor.
Here at today's conference, you're going to have the opportunity to make connections and start conversations that could shape the future of Syria. It's your choice how big the idea is, how much impact you can have. Such is the powerful force that you represent.
It becomes more and more important that we maintain our hope for a better future for Syria. And in particular, we must try to give hope to our children and young people that they will not become a lost generation.
When we ignite this resource of Syrians around the world, we can do something. And we look and we juxtapose that with what's happening in Syria. It's the despair, it's the sadness, it's the helplessness. And you look at this room and it's completely different. It's the hope, it's the optimism, it's the engagement.
An immense effort will be needed after the conflict to rebuild higher education. An effort involving not only the Syrian state, but also the international community.
What's striking about the current situation is that our expectations, managing our expectations for how the future will be for Syria as a country, but very much for this entire generation of children, is one of our challenges today.
The humanitarian intervention or humanitarian relief has not yet fully acknowledged that education is an integral part of this humanitarian intervention.
A lot of why, of the reason we are here today is the lack of structure in the country. So there were many people that were advocating education and advocating entrepreneurship, advocating rights in general, and there were definitely not many political groups, and if there were any, they weren't heard, their voices weren't heard. And I think this is, and drawing on what Wafi Said said in the morning, I think it is very relevant, despite the focus on humanitarian assistance and on relief. It is important to start thinking of what we can do to help the present of Syrians, because that is detrimental on their future as well.
I think we all look at the scale of the task ahead of us and ask ourselves how we can possibly make a difference.
When a Syrian come and help a Syrian, it's not a charity. It's solidarity. It's the gateway for national reconciliation. So by the mere fact of integrating education from Syrian to Syrian, we are already heading national reconciliation.
That the indicators today are worse than Germany's indicators following World War II. So we are looking at a situation that is just as dire as a nation that came out of a world war.
From time to time, I feel despair, as I confess I do, for Syria present and its future. I will think of you rolling up your sleeves to help, and I will know that the future can and will be better, much better than the past.
5 years from now, our aspiration is to be 1 million people strong. 1 million people in the global Syrian network who are connected, who've raised their hand, who've said, I want to be a part of rebuilding Syria.